Okay, I shall start about now. So, hello everyone. We are group number 4, and we did our project on the effects of visual and auditory noise on reaction time. My name is Ethan Mai, and I'm a chemical engineering major.
My name is Ayan Kalik and I'm a biology major.
I'm Francis, and I'm a computer science major.
I'm Ryan, and I'm a mechanical engineer.
My name is Ting Yu, and I'm a computer science and engineering major.
And now to introduce our project. So basically, the motivation behind this project is sort of the increasing relevance of multi-sensory integration research, which sort of has like its part in applications such as user experience or sort of how we want the user to process the different stimuli coming at them in different types of environments. So for example, when the brain encounters different distractions, it has different methods of to how it wants to process these distractions. For example, it can take it as belonging to the main stimuli, or it can just completely ignore it. So we sort of wanted to take this concept and put it down into a more basic level where we just test primary stimuli such as that from an LED or from a buzzer, and then slowly layered some more complexity with these stimuli and sort of see how it affects reaction time overall. So based on previous papers, we sort of hypothesized that there is going to be a significant increase in reaction time due to sensory noise. And as we increase the complexity of this noise, the reaction time will increase as a result. So moving on to our methods section to see how we recorded our data for this project.
Okay, so for our experimental setup, we tested a subject's reaction time to either an auditory or visual stimulus with a repeated measures design. So 3 sets of experiments were conducted using an Arduino circuit and software to measure simple reaction times. So in the first set, subjects responded to either a visual or auditory stimulus by pressing a button, and the reaction times were recorded through the Arduino's code. And in the second set, distractions of a different sense were introduced while testing reaction times. And in the third set, a multi-sensory distraction in the form of a SpongeBob episode was added. Additionally, the time elapsed in each experiment was also recorded to study the impact of user fatigue or loss of concentration on the reaction times.
So we recorded our data using the stereo monitor in the Arduino software. Ryan wrote the Arduino code that allowed us to output frequency of reaction time for the 3 experiments. The experiments were conducted once again, but this time the time elapsed and the reaction time was also outputted. The subjects conducting the experiment recorded around 100 data points for each experiment, and for consistency, both subjects used the index finger of their dominant hand. We then imported these data sets into Python, where we graphed the data, found the mean and standard deviations, as well as other measurements. We will then analyze the data further in the following slides.
So for data analysis, we use Python to analyze the datasets and form various plots and tables, as we can see on the slides. And we also use Python to calculate t-values and the correlation coefficient R. As we can see on the table and on the graph on the upper right corner, the control mean reaction times of the LED only and the buzzer only datasets were the lowest in their respective sets of experiments. Meanwhile, the trials with cognitive distractions in place had higher mean reaction times. It can be easily seen from the table that they all had a reasonable margin of error, and the median continued to increase with distraction either buzzer or video. And the one with for LED with video distraction had the largest mean and the largest standard deviation, proving that the video distraction combined with LED has the largest impact on the person doing the experiment. And as for the graph on the lower right corner, we calculated the correlation coefficient R and found that there was no consistent correlation between the elapsed time and the reaction time of all the experiments. And this is the table for our calculated t-test values. Almost all of the t-test values are low enough to be statistically significant, as low as 10 to the negative 18 and 10 to the negative 26 times. Because we had two persons doing the experiment and collecting the data, the t-test values are essential to prove that the two groups and the two data sets are not essentially different, and they can be used as basically one data set, and also proving that the process, the distractions we created, do have an effect on the population of interest.
So the main research question that we're trying to answer was if visual and auditory distractions increase the mean reaction times compared to the controlled condition without any distractions. We did this by using an Arduino circuit and Python data analysis. And looking at the data, we can see that the results confirm our hypothesis that distractions did have a significant impact on the reaction times. In the absence of any distractions, the participants had an average reaction time of 0.304 milliseconds. But when we introduced distractions such as the LED or the buzzer, we saw longer mean direct reaction times, such as 0.37 milliseconds for just the LED one and 0.498 milliseconds for the video distraction, which provides evidence of disruptive effect of the sensory distractions that on our response times. And the most interesting finding was using the multi-sensory distractions where a video with auditory content was played. And in this scenario, we saw a more noticeable impact when the reaction times reached 0.298 milliseconds for the buzzer distraction and 0.311 milliseconds for the video distraction, which shows that the brain's neural networks may have more difficulty processing stimuli efficiently when faced with multiple sensory distractions together. And while the results are promising, it's also important to know that there can be systematic errors within the study, such as each participant's attentional capacity or prior experience with distractions, which could have impacted our results.
And next, we want to explore the future directions for our research. So first, we want to investigate if alternating between using an LED and a buzzer as a primary stimuli has any effect on the reaction times. Next, we can delve into how introducing a same-sense cognitive disorder, like for example, an LED distraction for a visual reaction time test, would have any effect on the reaction time measurements. And furthermore, we're curious to see if the order of the trials would influence the reaction time. So this could be due to factors like user fatigue or like loss of attention over time. And to ensure the reliability of our findings, we plan to repeat the same experiments with a larger pool of participants to gather as much data as possible. And this way we could validate and refine our summaries or our conclusions.
And then lastly, we would just like to have some acknowledgements in terms of this project. We would first like to acknowledge the UCLA Physics Department for their reference lab with report materials to help us get this project started. And we would also like to thank our TA for his assistance and helpful feedback through every single step of the project. And that will conclude our presentation.